Hey everybody, Morgan SLV here. This is take 5. Whew, what a day. 3/13/2011. Gold 14.19, silver 35.90. I'm going to barrel through some of this stuff because I want to get to a book I'm reading. The debt ceiling. Why would the government raise the debt ceiling, and what does that mean? The reason they're raising the debt ceiling is because they're out of freaking money, number one. Number two, when you raise the debt ceiling, that is default. You don't have the cash. You're not making ends meet. Therefore, you've got to go to the powers that be and ask daddy for a new loan, right? Bottom line is it's default by any other name, right? So, you know, basically they can't pay their bonds. They're you know, and as this happens, you know, the buyer of last resort for our debt is Bernanke, right? And so basically all he's doing is just printing money out of thin air. You know, it's the same old, same old. That's why I suggest, man, you know, get your crap together. Buy your precious metals. Don't screw around. Quit waiting. Get off the fence. There's going to be more turmoil worldwide. What does that mean? When you have turmoil and unsettled regions, you know, such as, you know, Egypt and Greece and, you know, pretty much everywhere on the planet, as Bernanke keeps, you know, exporting our debt all over the planet, it is causing tsunamis, much like the one you just saw in Japan, right? Across the world. And financial tsunamis. And so you have people at unrest, right? And, you know, I was listening to, I want to say King World News. I could be wrong on this, but you know, they're saying if you think that our country, the USA, is going to be immune to having you know, this type of unrest, civil unrest, you know, you guys are, you know, you're whistling Dixie is exactly what he said. And I just thought that was kind of interesting because he said it in a very low-key fashion, but it's very devastating, the effects, right, if that was to come home. Also, there's a shortage of farmers. If you listen to Jim Rogers, he talks about it. You know, the average farmer in Japan is like 55 years old. And I don't know what the average, I should probably look it up in the U.S. In other words, there isn't very many people growing food, man, and the ones that are getting older. Not to mention what the government's going to be doing, manipulating all that. And you can get into Illuminati or and all those different areas where, you know, they're controlling the food, they're messing with their seed banks. You know, I'm going to leave a lot of that up to God. You know, my whole theory is for the next 5 to 10 years, my family has to eat, and that's the plan I'm going on. So obviously, I'm taking my precious metals, I'm turning them into cash flowing real estate when I can, and then move on to you know, jump off the next bridge when we get to it. That in itself means that you need to study Da Vinci J15, Silver Futurist, Peter Schiff, you know, Max Kaiser, frickin' stud, the collector's coach, Charles Fuchs, check him out, his YouTube channel. You guys need to study up. You need to read your butt off and you need to study up. That's all I can say. That's my friendly warning to you. You know, another thing. So I had a bet with my boss, okay. You know, guys know that I run a couple businesses and I also have a job. So, you know, I'm always busy. But bottom line is I told him, I guarantee you, number one, your house isn't worth what you think. Number two, you have one of those funny pick-a-payment loans that's going to come back and bite you if you don't refi. He went on and told me about all these real estate shows that he listens to, and they say the real estate's just rounding a corner and it's on its way back up. And I finally told him one night, we got into an argument, and it looked like he wanted to hit me. I said, look, in order for real estate prices to go up, you have to have proper fundamentals. You have to have people working who can afford the average price of an average home. Is that happening? Absolutely not. We have more and more unemployment, okay? The homes still have further to drop. You know, without these stimulus programs and without the $8,000 tax credit and whatnot, it slows new home purchases. And all I can say is, he finally tried to refi his house. I told him, I said, if you're anywhere near 5 or 10 grand, you can hand the bank to have them get out of that loan so you can get a normal loan on your home, do it. The first go around, it was like 12 grand. He told him to pound it. Now, this next one, which was only about 6 months later, they want $37,000 down on this house that he already put $160,000 down on to refi this loan. He has over 900 credit. I think it was 950. Even his sister, who was a loan agent, or excuse me, a loan officer, was surprised by how good his credit was, and that's where he's at. That's where he's sitting. So it's no wonder things are so messed up. Anyway, my heart goes out to you. I'm leaving his name out of this, and I did look him in the eye. I said, "Remember when I told you that I was probably right, because I study this a lot, and I'm sorry that I'm right, but I'm sorry you're going through that." So it is what it is. You know, as other investments around the planet get shaky, you know, people go, they go towards safety, and for 6,000 years, this has been safety. Okay, I don't know what else to tell you. If as a new viewer to YouTube, I'm going to give you an out and say, yeah, you know, I understand that maybe you haven't studied up, you know, on the metals, but for anybody that's been looking at this for 6 months or more or whatever, and you haven't pulled the trigger, shame on you. That's all I can tell you. If you're not going to pull the trigger on something like this, you better pull the trigger on something else that you deem as solid, and I just don't know anything else that is. That's all I got to say about that. I'm reading a book that was given to me by my mother, Dave Ramsey. The name of the book is The Total Money Makeover. Now, what he's telling people to do, now I do like some of the things that I read in here. I like this statement: if you will live like no one else, later you can live like no one else. And so that is the path that I am following, definitely. I am scraping by each and every month to make sure that my metals stay where I want them, and I'm able to accumulate more metal so that I can change my metals into cash flowing real estate. I work a lot. I'm not saying I'm always successful every day, but I work a lot. And so I do agree with that statement. One of the statements in here is said, don't invest in gold. And he's talking about mutual funds, okay? He's talking about growth funds that he's been in, and what the average stock market, you know, the stock market has averaged for the last 75 years. And, you know, I remember that brings me back to reading one of Robert Kiyosaki's books, and he said, Rich Dad told him, let me guess, so he told you the stock market's done 12.3% for the last 75 years, right? And Robert looked at Rich Dad and said, yeah, why do you say that? And he goes, because that's not actual investment advice. That's basically a sales pitch. And so I don't want to really beat him up. I know that he's probably helped a lot of people. And like Robert Kiyosaki says, you know, if you don't have any financial knowledge, do that. Go ahead and jump into your mutual funds and, you know, cross your fingers. But knowing what I know, I wouldn't tell my worst enemy to go out and buy mutual funds. Number one, you have zero control, right? You put up 100% of the money. You take 100% of the risk. And they take 80% of the profit. So I do not think that's a viable plan. Dave Ramsey, if you were sitting in this room right now with me, I'd be telling you, dude, there's no way I could possibly agree with you. Now, in that same light, if you're a person that doesn't study, I guess that's your best bet. Let's get on with the joke of the day. Joke of the day is this: Fred got home Sunday, late Sunday, after a game of golf. He got home later than normal, and he was very, very tired. His wife said, his wife asked, you know, bad day at the golf course? He said, yeah. He goes, you know, everything was going great. And then Harry had a freaking heart attack on the 10th tee. She goes, oh my gosh, that's awful. You're not kidding. So for the back nine, it was hit the ball and drag Harry. Hit the ball and drag Harry. Morgan SLV out.